Welcome to Pain in the Grass, the official Lawn Pride podcast, where we dig deep into the real problems hiding in your yard. From weeds to grubs to mystery brown spots, we've got the dirt. Let's grow better together.
Okay, picture the scene. It's mid-July 2026. You're standing in a driveway somewhere in the Piedmont of North Carolina. The thermometer on the porch reads 95 degrees, but the humidity, that oppressive wet blanket that everyone here knows too well, makes it feel closer to 105.
Oh, yeah. The air is so thick you can practically chew it.
And you're just staring at this lawn, probably tall fescue, that seems to have grown 2 inches since yesterday afternoon, just to spite you.
And you're just dreading pushing that mower, knowing you're going to be absolutely drenched in sweat before you even finish the first pass.
Exactly. And just to add insult to injury, you can hear that faint rumble of a classic 4 p.m. thunderstorm rolling in to just ruin your whole schedule.
Happens every time.
This is the visceral reality for homeowners here. It is a battle against the elements. But today, we're asking if technology has finally turned the tide.
That really is the big question. In 2026, is high-tech lawn care, we're talking robotic mowers, smart irrigation, AI diagnostics, is it actually a viable solution?
Or is it just expensive hardware that's going to break the first time it hits a pine cone?
Right. Is it just hype?
To answer that, we've gone deep into a stack of research, specifically focusing on automating the North Carolina lawn, smart tech and robots, and a really interesting companion piece, modern turf. The evolution of North Carolina lawn technology.
And our mission for this deep dive is, I think, pretty clear. We aren't here to just read you a shopping list of gadgets.
No.
We want to look at the agronomy, the economics. We want to help you figure out if automation fits your specific landscape, your soil, your slopes, your trees, and honestly, your patience level for dealing with tech.
Let's start with the why. Why are these reports focusing so heavily on North Carolina? It feels like every tech demo you see is on some flat, pristine, dry lawn in Silicon Valley.
I know, right? But the sources argue that North Carolina is actually the perfect laboratory, or maybe the perfect torture test for this kind of technology.
The torture test, I like that.
It really is. The reports highlight that we're in this unique intersection. It's the humid subtropical climate. Agronomically, that just creates a perfect storm.
How so?
You have heat that stresses the cool season grasses, but you also have this really aggressive weed pressure coming up from the tropics.
The sources list them out like a rogues gallery. You've got crabgrass, nutsedge.
Poa annua.
Poa annua, exactly. I feel like I spend half my summer just staring at crabgrass.
Right. And those weeds are so opportunistic. In this climate, if you miss a mow by 3 or 4 days because it rained or you were busy,
They take over.
they go to seed, they take over. The margin for error here is just so much smaller than it is in, say, Maine or the dry West, where things grow slower.
And it isn't just the weeds, right?
Yeah.
It's the grass itself. The modern turf report makes this really interesting point about the transition zone. We're growing a mix of things here. You have people with fescue, which struggles in the heat. And then you have people with Bermuda or zoysia, which just absolutely explode in the summer.
And that's a key distinction. If you have a warm season grass like Bermuda during peak season, you should ideally be cutting that every 4 to 5 days to keep it healthy.
Which is brutal to do manually in July.
It's brutal, and that's where the labor argument really comes in.
The reports also mention the feast or famine rainfall. We get flooding, 1 week, hurricane remnants, and then 3 weeks of baking drought.
Managing that manually is a nightmare. And you add in that labor costs in hubs like Raleigh and Charlotte have skyrocketed by 2026. So the argument the sources are making is that automation isn't just about being lazy.
It's about efficiency.
It's about efficiency. It's about managing a hostile environment with tools that don't get heat stroke.
Okay, so let's talk tools. The headline act here is obviously the robotic mower. The sources describe it as the vacuum for your yard, which I think simplifies it a bit, but the evolution is fascinating.
It is a good analogy for the behavior, if not the mechanics. If you remember the early Roombas, they just bumped into walls and turned around. Just random chaos.
Total chaos.
The early lawn robots were pretty similar, but the 2026 generation detailed in the report it's a different beast entirely.
They're using LiDAR and GPS now. How did that actually change the cut on the ground?
Significantly, LiDAR, that's light detection and ranging, lets the unit see obstacles in 3D.
Yeah.
But the huge jump is the GPS. It's not the GPS in your phone, which is accurate to maybe 10 or 15 feet.
Okay.
They're using RTK GPS, which stands for real-time kinematic.
Right. Okay. Unpack that for me. What does real-time kinematic actually mean for a homeowner?
It means it corrects the satellite signal using a little base station in your yard to be accurate within centimeters.
Centimeters. Wow.
So the robot doesn't just wander anymore. It mows in straight lines, in patterns, and knows exactly where it's been.
That is a huge leap. And it changes the setup, right? I remember looking at these a few years ago, and the deal breaker for me was the wire. You had to bury a physical copper wire around your whole yard.
Yeah, that was the standard. And for the budget models, it still is. But the report really emphasizes that the market has split.
So what's the alternative?
The premium models are now virtual boundary. You just drive the robot around the edge of your yard with the joystick on your phone.
Yeah.
It maps the coordinates, and you're done. No digging.
That is huge for adoption. But let's get into the agronomy, because this was the part of the research that really surprised me. I assumed the benefit was just, I don't have to mow.
Right. Time savings.
But the sources claim the robot actually produces a better lawn than a human can. How?
It comes down to the mulching effect, but on a micro scale. When you or I mow once a week, we're usually taking off, let's be honest, maybe a third or even half the blade if we let it get too long.
Which shocks the grass.
It's traumatic for the plant, and we leave clumps. Even with a mulching mower, if the grass is wet, you get those heavy clumps of clippings that just sit on top and rot.
Kills the grass underneath.
Exactly. A robot is different. It's going out every day or every other day. It's shaving off just a millimeter or two. Micro clippings.
Okay.
Because they're so small, they fall all the way down to the soil surface and decompose almost instantly.
So it's essentially a constant slow drip fertilization system.
Precisely. You're returning nitrogen and moisture directly to the root zone. The sources note that after a season of this, the turf density increases significantly.
And a thicker lawn is the best defense against weeds.
It crowds them out physically. The robot is doing preventative care just by being there. It's like taking a daily vitamin instead of getting emergency surgery.
The other benefit mentioned is the noise. They quote levels of 55 to 65 decibels.
Which is just conversation volume. You and I are talking right now at about 60 decibels.
That changes the whole social contract of the suburbs.
Yeah.
I could run this thing at 6 a.m. on a Sunday or 10:00 p.m. at night, and my neighbors won't call the police.
Or throw rocks at you.
Right.
It lets you use time windows that were previously off limits. You can mow while everyone is asleep.
However, and there's always a however with technology,
There's always a catch.
the Modern Turf Report puts a pretty heavy reality check on this, especially for North Carolina. It's not all smooth sailing.
No, and this is where the sales brochure meets reality. The first issue is rain. Robots are generally water resistant, but they're not submarines. They shouldn't be cutting wet grass.
Why not?
It just builds up under the deck and clogs the sensors. It's a mess.
And in a North Carolina summer, it might rain every single afternoon for a week.
Exactly. So your robot sits in its dock for 5 days. By the time it dries out, the grass has grown 3 inches. Now the robot, which is designed to shave millimeters, is facing a jungle.
And it struggles.
It can struggle to catch up. You might have to break out the old gas mower just to reset the height.
That kind of defeats the purpose a little bit. If I have to keep a gas mower in the shed for emergency resets, I haven't really replaced the labor completely.
It's a valid critique. Some people keep a cheap push mower just in case. The other major hurdle here is terrain. The report is very specific about slope angles.
This caught my eye. They distinguish between budget and premium based on how they handle slopes.
It's a physics problem. The budget units usually have smaller wheels, less aggressive tread. They top out at maybe 15 or 20 degrees.
And if you live in the mountains or even have a steep driveway in the Piedmont.
That robot is going to slide off the hill or just dig ruts trying to get traction.
And to get a unit that handles, say, 35 degrees, you're looking at a huge price jump.
Oh, at least double. You're moving from an $800 machine to maybe a $4,000 machine. You're paying for better motors, better traction control, the whole shebang.
There was one specific friction point in the text that made me laugh because it's so relatable. The stick problem.
Yes, the Achilles heel of the robot revolution.
My gas mower with its 5-horsepower engine, if I hit a pine cone or a small branch, it just pulverizes it. The mower keeps going.
A robot cannot do that.
Ugh.
It just doesn't have the torque or the blade mass. If it hits a pine cone, it might shatter its razor blades.
These razor blades.
Yeah, little razor blades, not a solid metal bar. Or it just triggers a collision error and stops.
So the text suggests you become a stick picker.
You do. You trade the labor of mowing for the labor of, policing your yard for debris. If you have huge pine trees or oaks dropping branches constantly, that robot is going to need a lot of babysitting.
So let's talk cost. We touched on it, but the range is wide.
Extremely wide. You can get an entry-level random pattern bot for maybe $800, but for the GPS-guided, high-slope, app-controlled units that actually handle an NC lawn well,
You're talking thousands.
you're looking at $2,500 to $4,000. Easy. Plus installation.
And maintenance.
Well, batteries last 3 to 5 years. Blades need changing every month or two because they're flimsy. It adds up. It's comparable to paying a landscape crew for a season or two, but it's a big upfront capital cost.
All right, so that's the cutting. Let's pivot to the other half of the equation, which I think is actually more critical for plant health. Water. The report calls traditional irrigation timers dumb.
It feels harsh, but it's accurate. Think about the standard controller in every garage in Raleigh. You set it to water Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5 a.m. for 20 minutes.
Set it and forget it.
But nature doesn't work on a schedule. If we get a massive thunderstorm on Tuesday night that drops 3 inches of rain, that dumb timer still fires on Wednesday morning.
Ugh, I see that all the time. Sprinklers running in the rain, it drives me crazy.
It's a waste of a precious resource, and it's terrible for the lawn. The tech solution is smart irrigation. And the report breaks this down into 2 levels. The first is just weather data integration.
This seems pretty standard now, right? The controller connects to Wi-Fi, checks the local forecast. If rain is predicted or if it has rained, it just delays the cycle.
Right. It's a predictive pause. But the sources say the real gold standard is actual on-site data using soil moisture sensors.
These are physical probes you put in the ground.
Yes. You bury them in the lawn, down at root depth about 3 to 5 inches, and they're measuring the volumetric water content of the soil in real time.
So they're checking if the plant is actually thirsty instead of just guessing based on a weather report.
Exactly. And for North Carolina, this is huge because of our soil diversity. We have that heavy red clay in the Piedmont.
Which holds water like a cast iron bathtub.
It does. And if you water clay based on a standard schedule, you often oversaturate it. The water has nowhere to go. It sits there choking off oxygen to the roots.
And that leads to shallow roots, right?
Shallow roots and disease. Fungi love warm, wet, stagnant environments. By using a sensor, the system only waters when the soil actually dries out to a specific trigger point. It forces the roots to go deeper to find water.
Which makes the lawn more drought tolerant in the long run.
Exactly.
The report threw a term at us, evapotranspiration. It sounds like something from a biology textbook, but they claim it's central to smart watering.
It is the core metric. Evapotranspiration, or ET, is basically the sum of evaporation water lost from the soil and transpiration water lost from the plant leaves. A smart controller calculates this daily. It says, okay, based on the heat, humidity, and wind today, the lawn lost 0.15 inches of water.
And then it replaces exactly that amount.
No more, no less. It's precision agriculture brought to the suburban front yard.
What's the ROI here? Because smart controllers and sensors cost money. Are we actually saving enough water to pay for it?
The EPA estimates in the source suggest a 20 to 50% reduction in outdoor water use. In sheer dollars, for a typical irrigated lawn in the summer, that's maybe $10 to $25 a month.
So the hardware pays for itself in, 2 to 4 years?
Roughly. But the hidden ROI is the landscape health. You aren't paying to replace sod that died from fungus. You aren't paying for fungicides to treat blight caused by overwatering. That's where the real savings are.
So we have the robot cutting, the sensors watering. Now we get to the part that feels very 2026. AI monitoring. The sources call it the digital consultant. This feels a bit gimmicky to me. Is it actually useful?
I think it's moving past the gimmick stage. The idea is to use the high-res camera everyone has in their pocket. You take a picture of your lawn, upload it to an app, and computer vision algorithms analyze the color, texture, density.
So instead of me staring at a brown spot wondering, did the dog pee there? Or is that a bug? Or is it a lack of water? The app can diagnose it.
That's the promise. And for our region, early detection is everything. Take armyworms.
Ugh, the scourge of late summer.
They can destroy a lawn in 48 hours. Literally eat it to the ground. By the time a human notices the brown patches from the kitchen window, it's often too late.
And the AI can catch it earlier.
It can detect subtle changes in leaf structure or color patterns that signal an infestation before massive damage occurs.
What's the business model here? Are we looking at another expensive subscription?
Usually, yeah, $5 to $20 a month. But compare that to a professional lawn service. A truck roll is $50 to $150 a visit.
So the argument is the app helps you treat only when needed, not on some blind schedule. Yeah. The sources also talk about the holy grail of integration. This is where the systems start talking to each other.
Right, this is the future state that's just starting to come online. The mower talks to the irrigation system.
How does that conversation play out?
Well, imagine the irrigation system knows it just watered. The soil sensors report wet. The irrigation system pings the mower and says, "Do not cut. The grass is wet. You'll make a mess and compact the soil."
And the mower just delays its schedule automatically.
Automatically, or it could go the other way around. The mower's sensors detect that Zone 3 is growing twice as fast as Zone 1. It tells the irrigation system, hey, Zone 3 has plenty of water, maybe back off a bit, or Zone 1 is struggling, give it a boost.
That's fascinating. It's fully autonomous optimization. But this brings us to strategy. We have all this tech. It sounds great, but it's expensive, it's complex. How does a normal homeowner decide what to do?
The expert in the text makes a distinction I really liked. Tech automates tasks, not care.
That's a great line.
I think that's the single most important takeaway from this entire deep dive. You can automate the task of cutting, you can automate the task of watering, but you cannot automate the husbandry.
You still need to fertilize.
You need to fertilize, you need to aerate, you need to overseed, and crucially, you still need to trim. The robot cannot get the last 2 inches against a wall or a fence.
So you still have to go out there with the string trimmer. You're not firing the gardener or selling your rake. You're just changing the workload.
You're shifting the heavy lifting. The sources suggest using your pain points to decide where to start.
Okay, let's break that down. If my main complaint is the heat and losing my weekends.
You buy the robotic mower. That gives you your Saturday back.
And if my complaint is a $600 water bill in August, or a lawn that's always squishy and fungus prone.
You invest in smart irrigation with soil sensors. That fixes the resource management problem.
And if I'm a total novice, if I look at grass and I have no idea what I'm seeing,
then the AI monitoring is your safety net. It tells you what's going on so you don't kill the lawn through ignorance.
But there's a human factor warning in the conclusion of the report.
Yes, you have to look in the mirror. Are you comfortable with technology? Because these things are not appliances like a toaster, they're IT devices.
Right. If the Wi-Fi goes down, or the mower throws an error 404 left wheel stuck code to your phone, how do you react?
Exactly. If troubleshooting network connectivity in your garage stresses you out, this labor-saving device is going to become a source of rage.
For some people, the simplicity of a gas engine that starts when you pull the cord is still the better option.
It is. You're trading physical sweat for mental troubleshooting.
Ideally, you're trading being the laborer for being the manager.
You're the superintendent of the golf course now. You aren't cutting the grass. You're overseeing the fleet of machines that cut the grass.
Lawn manager. I like the sound of that. It elevates the whole hobby.
It does. It frees you up to actually enjoy the yard, which is presumably why you bought the house in the first place.
So, bringing it all together, the verdict from the sources seems to be, yes, in 2026, the tech is worth it. But, and it's a big but, only if you respect the limitations of your specific terrain and your budget.
It's a qualified yes. It is not magic. It's a tool set.
I want to leave our listeners with a thought that struck me while reading that section on full autonomy. We're moving toward a world where the lawn takes care of itself. The mower decides when to cut. The sensors decide when to water. The AI orders fertilizer on Amazon.
Efficiency at its peak.
It is efficient.
Yeah.
But if the system is making every single decision, if it delays a cut because of a rainstorm you didn't even notice, or applies a chemical because of a fungal spore you couldn't see, is it still your lawn?
That is a deep question.
At what point does the care become so abstract that you're just the landlord? You're just the person paying the electric bill for a machine ecosystem that lives in your front yard. Do we lose the connection to the land when we stop sweating over it?
Maybe. Or maybe we just find a new way to connect with it that doesn't involve heat stroke.
Something to chew on while you sit on the porch, sipping a cold drink, listening to the quiet hum of your robot doing the work for you. That's it for this deep dive into the high-tech turf of North Carolina. Thanks for listening.
See you on the next one.
Thank you for listening to the Pain in the Grass podcast, sponsored by Lawn Pride of North Charlotte, Huntersville. your go-to name in turf care for homeowners and businesses seeking beauty, quality, and reliability, powered by family and fueled by passion. Until next time, make sure to take care of that pain in the grass.